Fox News alert, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is announcing he's running for president tomorrow. It's going to happen at 6 p.m. Eastern on Twitter. What does that mean? Well, the governor is going to do an interview with Elon Musk, world's richest man, owner of Twitter, on something called Twitter Spaces. What's Twitter Spaces? Well, it's like a Zoom call without video. The New York Times is reporting that the announcement will be audio only. It's basically like a live radio interview on Twitter, and listeners can ask questions. Now, you have to assume there's got to be some sort of video component to this. I guess a part of the drama of the announcement is no one knows what this thing is going to look like or sound like.
We'll be interviewing Ron DeSantis, and he has quite an announcement to make. And it'll be the first time that something like this is happening on social media and with real-time questions and answers, not scripted.
Not scripted. Okay. This is obviously a non-traditional way to announce. Usually candidates have a big rally with a huge crowd behind them, holding up signs, clapping. You capture the raw energy of supporters live, and then it's distributed everywhere. It's possible DeSantis didn't want to compete with the Trump rally phenomenon. You don't want to get into a crowd measuring contest with the former president. Trump also isn't on Twitter. He's on his own social media deal, Truth Social, so that could be a factor here. We're wondering how the event's going to be edited and distributed throughout the media landscape without knowing what the video component's going to be. And just a second ago, the DeSantis team dropped this teaser clip, which might give us a taste of tomorrow. Watch.
Do I have the courage? Is it worth the sacrifice? America has been worth it every single time.
So DeSantis's Twitter tactic could be driven by impact. Musk has 140 million followers. They're not all Americans, but most of them are. So the bet could be on pure numbers, not aesthetics. Now, last year, Elon said he would support DeSantis in 2024, and now he's saying he's not endorsing anyone yet.
I'm not at this time planning to endorse any particular candidate. I would really just like someone fairly normal and sensible to be the president. That would be great.
Well, good luck, because normal people don't run for president. But Elon Musk, the world's richest man, is hosting a Republican presidential announcement on a social media platform that traditional Republican primary voters aren't familiar with. So this is an experiment. But however it shakes out, everyone, everywhere will know that Ron DeSantis is running for president. And Trump's campaign has seized on the DeSantis announcement. Quote, "This is one of the most out-of-touch campaign launches in modern history. The only thing less relatable than a niche campaign launch on Twitter is DeSantis' after party at the uber elite Four Seasons resort in Miami. Every day, more and more Americans are realizing just how out of step Ron DeSantis is with their values and how unelectable he really is. From his votes to cut Social Security and Medicare, see, Ron DeSantis just isn't ready to be president. President Trump is ready on day one to turn our country around, reverse Biden's disastrous policies, and make America great again." Now, Trump's still way ahead in the Republican primary polling. On average, he's leading Ron DeSantis by almost 40 points. So DeSantis has his work cut out for him. Trump's always held the lead, but expanded it significantly when he was indicted by Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. Look at that. See that trend line? Trump's numbers really shut up there in April. So we're about to find out how much of a political athlete Ron DeSantis is. How does DeSantis condemn the phony investigations into Donald Trump while keeping a safe distance from them? Now, Ron needs to figure out how to deal with the Trump investigations. If he looks like he supports the investigations, he'll lose every Republican voter. But if he supports Trump while Trump's hammering him, he looks weak. DeSantis has to be nimble here because he'll need Trump's voters, and his political career is just beginning. And Fox has the Republican primary debate coming up in August, so that's really going to be the first time when we really see how Ron handles the heat. And Trump's flirting with the idea of not showing up. Now, that could be for leverage, but Republican voters expect him to be there. Remember the 2016 Republican primary debates? Some of the best TV ever. Now, with all this action in the Republican primary, Joe Biden's Justice Department's about to make a move. The Wall Street Journal's reporting Biden's prosecutors are getting close to indicting Trump over the documents at Mar-a-Lago. Word is they might get Trump on an obstruction charge. So here we go again, obstructing a crime he didn't commit. And we hear the special counsel, Jack Smith, pulled all of Trump's business records since 2017 and couldn't find anything. Could you imagine if prosecutors looked into the Biden family business records? So, what we have here is the same Department of Justice that's been covering up Biden's bribe scandal and deep-sixing the Hunter investigation and letting Biden stash classified docs in Chinatown, his open garage, and, the China-funded Biden Center. Those same agents are about to move on Trump. And these are the same agents that killed both of Hillary's FBI investigations, one into the Clinton Foundation, the other into a campaign finance scandal. And the same agents that spied on the Trump campaign, the same people that covered up the laptop, are now letting Biden off the hook and could soon arrest Biden's potential opponent. Now, remember, Donald Trump was impeached for asking someone to investigate Biden. And now Biden is investigating and then arresting Donald Trump? Okay. So how does DeSantis play off that? It's tricky. But Biden's moves show how fragile the man is. And with numbers this pathetic, I'd probably arrest my opponent, too. 2/3 of Americans can't stand how Biden's handling the economy, inflation, the border, and guns. And 2/3 of Americans think he's taking the country in the wrong direction. And the same amount of people think he's not healthy enough or mentally sharp enough to be president. And if you ask Hillary, Biden might not even make it out of his first term. So in that case, whoever does win the Republican primary, Trump or DeSantis, may be able to just waltz right into the White House. That is, unless the FBI stops them.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.